Hey kids, it's Mr. King here, here for a lesson. This is one of the few times during school year that I'm going to teach you a lesson that the lesson itself and the materials themselves are going to be the same thing, taught all the way down towards the kindergarten level, all the way up to the third grade or fourth grade level, depending on which way we scale the upper grade level piece. I've actually been teaching my perspective piece for fifth and sixth graders to fourth grade for this week. But just because I want to kind of push them a little harder and see what they can do. But this one is a really cool scalable project. For the little guys, we just simplify some of the expectations. Really, we're talking about basic shapes and then talking about the difference between two-dimensional and three-dimensional. And for the upper grade levels, so basically K through 2, excuse me, I'd be talking about basic shapes being the circle, being the shape we're using here. And then also about 2D and 3D. For the older guys, I'm actually talking to them about 2D, 3D interactions and then some more complicated stuff, and I'll explain that with the details we do. So this video is for both age levels. I'm hoping parents will be here to help out a little bit, but it's really a simple project. It's a lot of fun. There's a reason why I do it across a lot of grade levels, because it's just cool. So this one is actually inspired by a kindergartner who actually changed the project did in the past. Really cool, and all you need for this is some white paper. I'm using cardstock here because I like having something thicker to put as my base. But you can use regular white computer paper, and then some sort of colored construction paper. Green works well because we're going to be doing plants. This is along with the bug theme. We started breaking into what do bugs eat and what eat bugs. And one of my favorites is to point out, well, some plants actually eat bugs. They kind of fight back a little. So we're going to make our own Venus flytraps. I usually show a video on that. I'll try to include that in the description. There's a really cool BBC video right there. Caution to parents, I'll try to also include the PBS one. PBS one is a little more little kid friendly for my kindergarten through, I'd say, first grade. My second and third graders can probably handle without a problem, and even fourth graders, if they wanted to do this project, can handle the BBC one. It's got some sound effects to the flies being eaten, which sound like they're squealing, so it's a little darker. Anyways, here we go. Let's get into this. Don't want to ramble forever. What you're going to do is you've got green paper, you've got white paper, you have a pair of scissors you're going to need. I'm using adult ones because my hands are big. And then you just need markers. Any kind of markers you can get your hands on. Colored are great, but if you can only do, a Sharpie, that's cool too. And then the last thing you need is some sort of glue, adhesive, or tape. Okay, you're going to want to hide this behind to hold the thing on that you want to. And so we're going to make our own Venus flytraps, and we're going to make them 3D. I'm going to show you guys how. Really cool. Take your piece of colored construction paper and fold it in half. You can do hot dog or hamburger, but if you do hot dog, you've got a little more room to add some extra stuff. And so what you are going to do is, I like to take my pencil first and draw on the creased side, on the creased end. I like to draw a little half circle here, okay? So, like that. Okay, and that's just gonna be my guide. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go along that half circle, and I'm just gonna cut kind of a little zigzag line. Now, if you are doing this with a kindergartner, I wouldn't have them do the zigzag. I would just have them cut the line straight. And that's simply because it's a little bit harder to deal with. So the kindergartners, we're now talking about how we can use parts of shapes. So we were talking about how we were making bugs from circles. Now we're talking about how we're using a half circle folded to make something a little bit different here. And so here's the shape of my Venus flytrap. I actually have now a three-dimensional flytrap, as you guys can see right here. So what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna take my glue, I'm gonna add a little spot on my paper. Nice little gob though. You really want something to let it adhere to. So that really is, you can really see it on camera, a gob. My gob of glue, take my flytrap, put my finger inside of it, and I'm gonna press it really hard down right here. And you'll give it a couple seconds to really hold. You want that to really stay. I'm gonna crease it a little more so it's just the way I want it. And then I'm gonna go back to my paper and I'm gonna do the same thing over again. Now you can change the size of your fly trap. The only real reason I like doing that zigzag texture is because it kind of looks like the teeth and hairs that are on the outside of the fly trap's mouth. Again, if you watch the video, you can see that. So I do like adding that texture. Again, if you're doing it with little kids, they definitely can't handle this much fine motor skill, or most kindergartners definitely can't. I'm not gonna say that yours can't, but I would say that they are the exception to the rule there. And so for those little guys, just cut it straight along the line. You might need to help them a little bit, that's okay. So I've got another one. I'm gonna face it in the same direction because I like it how it feels like the plant's facing the same way. Because plants usually do that, they grow towards sunlight. Even fly traps need sunlight. So I'm gonna actually position it just a little different, a little bit of a different angle. Press down, there it is. And let's do one last one, okay? So this one we're gonna make the biggest. This time I'm just gonna freehand my half circle so you guys don't have to wait and watch me do it. And here's the fun one I like to point out to kids too. You can also do some cool 2D, 3D interaction by having the last, or not even the last one, but any of these actually go a little bit off the page. So what I mean is, I finish this guy, he's my big one. Okay, my big guy. I'm gonna actually have him coming up off the page over here. Maybe I'll position him like that. So I'm gonna go big gob, because the bigger your fly trap is, the bigger your gob of glue needs to be. Press that one down. And there's my cool fly trap set. So they're on there, they're ready to go. Now I need my details. And this is where the fun, creative part of this comes in. You are going to grab a marker. I'm gonna go again with green because I'm a bit of a traditionalist here. And what I like to do is I go from the very back center of my fly trap. I don't know if you guys can see that, but right here. And I'm going to make a winding stem. And it's just gonna kind of snake its way down to the middle. Same thing up on the next one. Make little variations to them to make them look like they're, you know, separate parts of the same plant. I like having them connect back down to the same point. And boom, there are my stems. Pretty easy to do. Now you could add a little detail by thickening the stem a little more here and there if you want to. One thing that I like to do is definitely encourage kids to add leaves and other things. But you can also talk about additional adaptations. So we talk about the fly trap and how it eats insects. Well, what if this fly trap has thorns? Because it also wants to protect against other animals that might try to eat it. So that's kind of a cool thing. So not only does it eating insects, but it's also protecting itself against other things that might want to eat it by having thorns on it. You can also have other things too. Like I even had some kids where we imagined, you know, more kind of cartoony, fanciful things where we added eyes to the top of our Venus flytraps, which is totally cool too. I had one kid who had his actually breathing fire, which was really funny. And others that made like tentacles grabbing onto the insects and whatnot. And one of the popular things is to actually draw the insect inside of the mouth of the fly trap. Along with that, lots of other details. I'd love to see background, other plants that are around it, little details like that going on. You can do almost anything you want. You can also, one thing I think makes these look really nice is if you take something like a brown and you make a ground line going across it, like you're seeing this very close to the ground. You can go right over the top of the other marker you got there. And then you can actually have some other fun things. You could actually bring the ground line up a ways and see part of the root system, which is kind of fun. Or you can just sit there adding things like your grass around it, if it is grassy around it. We don't know, it could be a desert. It's kind of fun because you can start thinking about the habitat for where your fly trap happens to live. And there's other carnivorous plants you could include in here too. So maybe some bell pitcher plants or something like that. So anyways, that's basically it. It's really simple. I think these look really kind of cool, especially if you put them on a black piece of paper. I'm not gonna go grab one right now, but frame it up and kind of make it look a little nicer. I definitely encourage you to put your name on it somewhere because you always want to put your name on your art, take pride. But you guys can check out some of the stuff that my other students check out. This is a 3rd grade class right here. Had some really awesome stuff. Really put some cool effort into it. They had textured scissors, which you can get like at a dollar store or Walmart. So you can definitely use those to add a little interest. So I gave those out to the kids. So these little rigid, you know, texture scissors, which were really cool. And then they made like coils, like it was a vine. And there's an insect being eaten up over in here, and a whole bunch of fly traps, obviously. Really kind of, this is a really great with the movement going on in this little drawing here. I like that one. There's also this one which has a lot more detail to the silhouettes of the bugs that are in the fly traps, which look great. And then obviously still doing the vine coils right there. These two kids were sitting near each other and definitely getting ideas off each other. And then just kind of the real traditionalist one right here. This one, the kid used a whole bunch of different texture scissors to get different textures across here. So that's pretty cool, but really, really neat. I think that's pretty awesome for, you know, 3rd grade work. And so that's really it right there. With the 3rd graders, I would reiterate to them that, and I'm going to speak directly to you guys, this is really neat because what we're doing is we're breaking the 2D plane to make this 3D. So it's like something that was in a flat world came into a 3D reality. So in a 2-dimensional world, you only have width and depth, but you don't have height. And so we've added height here. As you can see, there's paper sticking off of the paper right there. So instead of just width and depth, we also have height, and that is now the third dimension. And that's really cool to have something break through to our own 3D plane and kind of interact with us a little more. It makes the art a lot more engaging, a lot more interesting. Think of it like, you know, pop-up books have that going on. You open them up, and this is neat because some of these really do have pop-up book elements of like hiding the bug inside of them they've just eaten. So that's what I want to talk about with my older guys, kind of trying to draw the viewer in with really cool ideas where you break that two-dimensional plane into the three-dimensional plane. For the little guys, I literally just want to talk to them about how you can make art by using, instead of a whole circle, a half circle instead, then to make these shapes. And then they become three-dimensional, and explaining to them that things that are flat are two-dimensional and things that have height as well are three-dimensional. And we would eventually lead into the talk about shape versus form, but not for today because that would be too much information for little guys to handle. Anyways, that's it. That's a lot of explanation, I know, but I think these are really easy and fun to make. Definitely a good one at home. So, you know, make a ton of these, have some fun with it. If you really want to go off the rails a little bit, make it even more fun, one cool thing you can do is do the same process for making the heads of these, but instead, if you happen to have flower wire or even pipe cleaners, you can get something like styrofoam, put them into that, and then attach these to the ends of it and make actual 3D sculpture plants that way. And that just becomes really exciting in itself. So, you know, the sky's the limit right there. I would do that in my classroom, except that that abundance of materials for a single day project can be kind of tough, especially when it's the first time they've done something like this. So we might do that later on, okay? Actually, I kind of have a plan for that, so don't give it away yet. Anyways, guys, I will talk to you later. Have an awesome day. Enjoy. Make some awesome art. Please let me see those pictures when they are done. And I'll try to include any videos and the description of the supplies needed in the Google Classroom. Okay? See you later. Bye.